absolute pleasure it is for me. I am so excited that we won a high honor at State UIL and at National Forensics because of teacher and coach Julie Schniers, who's at Central High School, and a gifted, talented Zach Linzy, who's a junior. We have one more year. Woo-hoo! And you all, I have prayed that we would get some kids to blow the top out at State UIL in anything, and then go on to the National Forensic Conference. Is that what it is? League. And this year it was held in Texas. But let's backtrack. You chose as an elective.
As a freshman.
As a freshman.
I chose speech and debate as an elective, and that's how it started for me. It wasn't really a thing of mine. Like, I just chose it as an elective, and it blossomed from there.
Wow, did it blossom, buddy. And you came here from an outstanding high school, Seminole, which is where you were from, Julie. Holy cow. And then you went on to Texas Tech and graduated in speech?
I graduated with a degree in theater and broadcast journalism, so communication, and then speech and debate is something I did in high school, and I judged it in college, and I love it because the interpretation part that we do, like poetry, is so similar to theater. That was just a love of mine, and so I got plugged in at Central, and then get to work with kids like Zach, and it just makes it awesome.
You drew the really good card. Because students like Zach are such a pleasure. They're sponges. You're a sponge, Zach. But for you to make us so proud and to win first place in poetry at UIL State, which means you have great chances at scholarships because of that. And then to go on to the National Forensic League and win second place, which kids from all over the world are there. This is not just a national.
No, it's all over the world.
So how many kids came to this meet?
3,200 is how many there were.
At the entire meet.
And there's only 170 finalist spots, period, out of all of those kids that come. And you had to qualify to be one of those 3,200. And so if you really added those numbers up, it's massive. But out of the 170 finalists, only 7 of them were from the state of Texas.
7?
Period. Yeah.
So when you chose an elective in 9th grade, Zach, whoo! That is amazing. Did you do UIL in middle school?
I did not.
Holy cow!
He just got good fast.
Yes,
coaching. Good coach.
Good answer.
Well, absolutely. And before we went on the air, we were talking about what does it take if we have a pizza pie of all the pieces, and they're not equally divided, the pieces. Talent is a big one, which, Zach, you're too humble to admit. You have talent.
So much talent.
You have to have a good coach who not only knows what it takes, but knows the tricks of the game. And I don't mean to downplay that.
But it's so true.
But it's very true. How to choose the selection and all the tricks, and how to guide a young person in using their time, etc. And then Zach, you mentioned luck, that it was a lot luck. I happen to think luck is a piece, but a smaller piece than what you two brought to the table. So I can say that, okay?
Yeah,
we'll take it.
Okay. All right. Did you participate in poetry you moved here as a ninth grader. Did you participate in UIL team?
Well, not on the UIL team, but we compete in 3 different organizations, and Texas Forensics Association is one of the organizations that we compete in. And when I was in Seminole, I competed on their team in poetry at small tournaments.
Did someone at Seminole or Ms. Schniers help guide you? Because there are many different speaking avenues of UIL. were you guided into that, or did something grab you?
Well, there are many different speaking avenues in UIL, but only 2 of them are performance avenues, and that's poetry and prose. And I chose poetry because I felt more comfortable with
And
it,
he's awesome at poetry. He's awesome at both, but yeah.
Okay, give us, did you compete with the same poem at state as on the national? Well, why not? You won at state.
You know, I asked him that same question.
Were you tired of it?
And
she wanted me
chose.
to. It's just, in my opinion, the competition venues and the areas in which we compete are so different. You can compete on the UIL circuit with different judges, and they'll like a certain poem more than competing on the National Forensics League, and they'll like a certain poem better. And I just felt that the poem that I presented at the national tournament was better suited for the national level than the poem that I presented on the state circuit.
Were they vastly different?
They were vastly different.
All right, give me an idea. What poem did you compete on the state level?
Okay, on the state level.
There's 2 in UIL.
Okay.
On the state level, my poem that I competed in the final round in was about the UT shootings, which occurred in, I don't know the particular year, but they occurred at the University of Texas.
A long time ago, before you were born.
Before I was born. So I presented that, and it was a unique piece in the fact that I presented as a narrator, and then I presented from the killer's point of view.
Is it long? You only have so many minutes, isn't that right? 7?
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
7 minutes on the state level and 5 on the national level.
Okay, so that was a very serious, with a dark side.
Very dark side.
Okay, then on the national level, what did you compete with?
On the national level, I did a piece which was about kind of the history of African Americans and me finding my place as an African American in today's society. And it was the author. I was doing it as a first person point of view, and the author gave a few examples of how racism and segregation affected him in his life, and that's basically what the poem was about.
And I asked you prior, but let's go at it again. You have it mostly memorized, but you have
a manuscript.
A manuscript in front of you. Would you say you had it 99% memorized?
I would say I had it 110% memorized.
Whoa, Zach!
But you're supposed to look.
But you're supposed to look at the book. But I mean, you perform it so many times, whether it be in practice or at the actual tournament. You kind of have no choice but to have it memorized. It's the same words over and over again, and when you perform them so many times.
When you practice it as much as you should, and you work it as well as Zach does, that
maybe too much.
It's memorized.
Okay, how long would you say, how many weeks did you work on your national poem?
Since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, since the beginning of the year.
Off and on.
And then your state UIL.
State poem, same thing.
You were working on the same things, except your state UIL poem, you had to start competing earlier on it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you start having pre-district meets,
right.
etc.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So did you do well at all the pre-district meets
Yes.
on that poem about UT?
Yes.
So that means you won.
He won top interpreter of the TFA meets that we go to.
5.
Was it?
4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times.
Okay. So last year, how did you do last year?
He did well. But of
on
course,
the district level.
Yeah, of course.
I made
this year.
regionals in prose last year. I made regionals, and in prose last year at nationals, I won 9th in the nation in prose last year. So last year was kind of a prose year for me,
and this year,
was a poetry year.
Well, now when you go to those meets, are you both listening to other people's poetry or prose to see, wow, I think that poem would fit me well?
Yeah. When we go to the meets, if we see a poem that we like particularly, we'll write it down and we'll take it. We'll use it. We have other people on the team that do poetry as well, so I'll go and I'll see poems that I like for them, and I'll take poems for them.
What we really like to do is find poems that, or in competition, find authors that we like, because we find that we hit a lot of the same schools in our district for UIL or TFA, and we don't want to bring their piece and have them in the same room with us. So we try to either do a new cutting of it that's different than theirs, or
that's
a whole new
part
author.
of the pizza pie of knowing the things you need to do. Wow. So, Zach, you have your senior year coming up. Have you already started looking for pieces for next year?
That's a good question.
Okay, two women, one on your side want to know that.
As you said, we compete in several different events, not just poetry and prose. I compete in DI, and
what's DI?
Which is dramatic interpretation.
Okay.
It's a 10-minute memorized event, which is dramatic, obviously from the title. And it's me by myself, and I'll perform a manuscript, usually in first person.
Which is a lot like a monologue in theater.
Okay.
And I have an idea of what I want to do for that next year, and I have to get together with my duet partner, and we're gonna start finding a piece for that. And poetry and prose I haven't really looked at yet. But
this is just
it's just the summer.
Yes. Yes, but your wheels are turning, and doesn't it absolutely whet your appetite of, I have to be the best. And your absolutely beautiful trophy is here, and I'm so grateful you brought it, because it's maybe one of the prettier trophies I've ever seen, and it's very heavy. Did you weigh it?
No, I did not weigh it.
Well, it's unusually heavy, and it's unusually beautiful, Zach. I'm so proud of you. I wish do you happen to have even 5 or 6 lines from either of those poems that you would feel comfortable doing for us? I didn't give you any pre-warning.
Yeah, I should have asked whenever we set this up if I should bring it, but yeah, I can do a section of one of them if you want me to. I
would. Which one would you like?
The one from Nationals I'll do. Okay. Should I stand up? Should I?
Make yourself comfortable.
Okay.
What would you feel better doing?
Okay. You see, I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. I am a Negro, black as the night is black, black like the depths of my Africa. And look, you may write us down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot us in the dirt, but like dust, we will rise. My people are speaking to me, telling me everything I long to hear.
Way to go, Zach.
I knew you were going to pick
that part. It's my favorite part.
All right, how did that poem impact your thinking?
My thinking as an individual?
Yes.
It gave me a lot of insight into what life was like for African Americans during his time, because obviously he wasn't growing up during the same time as me. But it gave me a lot of insight because he talks about Rosa Parks in the poem, he talks about Martin Luther King, he talks about Harriet Tubman, the Civil Rights Movement. He talks about slavery. He talks about basically the evolution of African Americans, and it gave me a lot of insight into my background.
Did he feel positive about a future, his future and your future?
He did. That's the end of the poem was him finding his place as an African American in today's society, and yeah, he felt pretty.
Would you like to meet him? Is he dead? Is he alive?
He's alive. He's David Ralph is his name, and I'm sure he's alive.
Zach, we need to work it out for him to know he won nationals on his poem.
It'd be pretty cool.
He would be so.
That would be cool.
He would be so honored. We're going to work on that, Zach.
Okay.
I'm there. So you feel that you weren't just working to win a trophy or a scholarship, but that the time you've invested in this poem had an impact on you.
It did have an impact on my life.
To what degree? Large, medium, small?
I would say it had a medium impact on my life, because obviously a poem like that with so much depth and so much information in it is going to have some kind of effect on your life. But I've done many African American pieces in my past, which have also had an effect on my life. So it was kind of new, but it was kind of something I had done before. So it had an effect, but not a profound effect.
Well, do you see yourself ever writing poetry or writing?
No, ma'am.
Not at this stage.
No, not at this stage.
Would be a good answer.
He's a performer at heart.
You're a performer?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Actually, what I want to do when I graduate is become a speech coach. Is what I want to become after I graduate.
Has she already brainwashed you to go to Texas Tech?
No.
No, I didn't brainwash him that far.
All is fair. You know that, don't you? All is fair. But I get a turn at you with University of Texas.
I would love to go to University of Texas.
Well, University of Texas really observes champions from state UIL competition. So I would think you have done your part up to this point.
Absolutely.
So way to go. So you would like to major in and be a teacher, a coach?
Yes, ma'am. What I would do is, I believe, major in mass communication and then get my minor in teaching. Get an education degree.
Well, that sounds a little like the Julie Schniers route,
like the route
which isn't bad, by the way.
Not at all, obviously.
Well, I also want to say for our audience, Zach and Ms. Schniers, that when I first arrived in San Angelo and started walkthroughs and was in Ms. Schniers, and that may have been your first year. I know it was.
It was my first
because
year. You were my first observation ever.
Well, I went out and told Dr. Coleman, the principal, I said, you told me she was a first-year principal. There's no way, she's so outstanding. Not only were you so prepared, Julie, but your interaction with students, that takes time. And this was in like January, February, March or so, and you already had a great interaction with kids, highly, highly professional, but so obvious that I think young people see quickly in an adult whether we care deeply about you or not. Is that true?
And she does, yes.
Okay, and I believe that as well, Zach. So she's the kind of teacher you are, Julie, that makes you want to dig deep and work hard.
Yes.
So
really
her part of the pizza pie for you winning's pretty big, huh?
Pretty big.
Yeah, and the Zach part's big.
Yeah.
But you can't underestimate what both of you brought to the table here, and to have you going to state is a great gift to our school district, Zach. You've made us proud. And I hope, and I don't know this for positive, so no, let me ask it as a question.
Yes.
Do you realize that your underclassmates, now that you have won at state and nationals, are going to be needing your mentoring?
Oh, yes.
Mentoring.
Yes, mentoring, speaking.
It's something that he has always been good at. He was an officer this year on our team, so mentoring didn't start for him just this year. I mean, he has...
mentoring is a big part of
the whole
speech
team.
And debate in general.
It's kind of how we
work
function.
Together
a
lot.
Because our team's so large that if I didn't have kids like Zach that could help lead the team, there's no way we could be as good as we are. So it's kids that mentor.
There's an art, as you know, if you watch her and other great teachers and coaches, there's an art in helping somebody.
There is.
Because if you're too bossy, they'll turn you off, even if you're right.
Even if you're right.
or if you're too soft, they won't listen to what you have to say. So
that's
you have to
right.
find the perfect balance.
And that's hard.
And he's good at it. He's very good at it.
So your as well as your classmates who now have seen that you have won are going to want help in all kind of ways, from little bitty, how do you stand, how do you dress, all of that, to choosing your piece, to how much do you study. And
A lot.
And a lot, don't
A
you?
lot.
A lot of young people, whether it's an athletic or a fine arts event, which I consider this a fine arts
Absolutely.
event, don't understand the amount of time. You can't just depend on a talent or, as you said, luck.
At all.
And she's going to do her part. It's how many of those hours and how big is your Zach piece of the pie.
And we
So true.
I stay on general in practice till 5 or 5:30 on a daily basis, which is 2 hours after school. So dedication is a big part of success.
So do you love it? Are you so passionate about doing it, or how much of it is you love to win?
That's a great question. My competitive drive, I would say, is the reason I am where I am now. But even with a competitive drive, you have to find something you love where it's just the drive is just kind of there.
And people can pick up on it. Judges pick up on it that you're not passionate.
Yeah, if you don't see somebody passionate, you'll rank them down. Judges can pick up on it pretty easily.
Wow. Okay, so we're gonna depend on you staying faithful and passionate and persevere and bringing back another big trophy.
No pressure.
And by this time next year, we'll know all the scholarships because they don't announce UIL scholarships till next year. Well, I'm pulling for you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Wow, have you made us proud.
Thank you.
Both of you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Schniers and Zach, thank you so much.
Thank you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that moves from mouth to ear, you know. Slaves singing old slavery songs like Wade in the Water and Follow the Drinking Gourd. Songs that I know very little about. You see, I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. I was born from slaves who were born from slaves who were born from slaves who were born from a free man, from a free land, the motherland, a land that I know very little about. But I'm learning. Through poetry, author David Ralph takes us on a journey through the most defining moments of his life. The moments that made him the child he was then, and the moments that make him the man he is today. Lost and Found by David Ralph. You see, I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. As a 6-year-old, I remember scrubbing a used-up Brillo pad across my face. I was trying to scratch the black away. You know, I thought maybe if I scratched deep enough and long enough and hard enough that maybe, just maybe, I could look like all the other kids in my neighborhood. So when Mama rubbed the hydrogen peroxide into my wounds, I didn't cry. I smiled. Because I saw the little white bubbles coming to the surface of my skin. The next morning, my smile turned to tears. Because the bubbles were gone, and I realized that my black was forever. You see, I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. In the 6th grade, the man on the tiny television spoke of a dream. The documentary was for Multicultural Week. 1 week out of the year, we learned about African Americans. Only 1 week to hear. Only 1 week to understand. Only 1 week to hear, I have a dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as brothers and sisters. I have a dream today. 1 week to understand that Rosa Parks was tired and refused to give up her seat to a white man. resulting in a fire that swept the nation. How could elementary schools even think that this was enough information? This was not enough information to transpire, not enough information to inspire. All it did was make me feel guilty and relieved. Relieved because I didn't have to live through it. You see, I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. In high school, my history teacher would say the most ignorant and vile things about all people of color. Like, the worst thing to happen to the United States was the Civil Rights Movement. Shame and anger flooded my brain. But I couldn't say anything in retort, mostly because I didn't know what to say. But now I know that I am a product of the Emancipation Proclamation. I am a Negro, black as the night is black, black like the depths of my Africa. And look, you may write us down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot us in the dirt, but like dust, we will rise. My people are speaking to me, telling me everything I long to hear. So, now I know a little more about the motherland. My land. My history. But this is just the beginning because I'm still learning. But I finally found my place. Once was lost